We're going to be talking today about twisting and what is twisting, how twisting should be done, and how twisting is integrated in the context of yoga. So if you see, and if you see my videos, I always like to start to give you some direction of what is yoga. So yoga means like at what extent our mind is not getting influenced by some past experience. So let's say, for instance, we have traumas in life that our parents beat us, or we had like a childhood in which like we got bullied, or we have been through breakups. So all those things, they have like been stored in our memory, and because of that story in our memory, they come back again, and in that thing, the mind gets disturbed. So when the mind gets disturbed, there is not a possibility to have union, which means like our individual consciousness can get reflect in the outside nature, which gives the experience, which gives the self-experience, and to that extent we start to knowing ourselves. So now we're saying that the whole thing about yoga is how can we actually make this cleansing our unconscious, do those past experience, how can we actually now make this link with postures, and how can we make this link with twist? Because that's the whole approach. If this link is not done, then we're just doing some random practice. Okay, I'm going to be a twist, and is that leading me to a kind of evolution or not? So from this background, I'm going to be exploring this video and this understanding about twisting. And now we go just one level a little bit lower. So we've said, okay, what is yoga? Now, what is postures? So the mind gets influenced or conditioned because it has an experience. If I experience pain and that pain gets registered in my unconscious as like a breakup, and then I feel loneliness, or I can feel betrayed, then of course those things are going to be reflect now in my future, how I interact with people, what expectations I'm going to have in my next relationship. So how postures can solve that? Because the thing is, if mind gets programmed for experience, how should I bring an experience in postures in which can make me uh, solve, or let's say dissolve those imprints? And then Yogi Patanjali mentions the experience of Stiram Sukham Asanam, stable and comfort. So now, if I'm in a posture, imagine I'm struggling in a posture. Then what happens? I'm comparing myself with my colleague. And then instead, my mind experience comfort, experience frustration because I cannot put my hand on the ground and my colleague can. So even though I'm practicing yoga, I'm actually not getting the benefits of yoga, because instead uh, put me in a direction in which my mind starts to reconstruct the experience of the self, experience of the consciousness, which is in itself has the comfort, has the ananda, has the peace, has the bliss. So to what extent can I express that as I'm going to one posture, and to what extent I can create a certain platform from that can happen because I'm stable. Because if I'm all the time moving, we're always involved with something. We have no space to experience. You always experience something else. So that comfort that comes from inside has to be expressed. That's why we say stira is stable. So now that we understand yoga, postures, now we go a little bit more lower and go into now twisting. So those experience to be comfort, what is like the nature of comfort? The nature of comfort should be effortlessness. If I'm here and let's say I'm starting to tensing my fists, I'm not comfort. If I'm having like if I'm bending my knees and I start to feel heaviness, also this is going to create some kind of uncomfort. So in a way, every time, and I'm going to bring a word that might be a little bit new, there is a duality, there is something in which creates difference that brings effort. So let's say, for instance, if I rise up my shoulder, rise up my arm, and now I feel my shoulder different than my belly. Oh, I start to feeling heaviness in my shoulder. I feel heaviness, shoulder different than belly. If I make like a twist and I start to feel more this hip here more than the other, this one is getting like more tightness, this one is more passive, dualities. So to what extent can I start to making a merge? To what extent can I, two things can become in one, in that merging, in that non-duality, which brings of course the union, that starts to bring the comfort. So how should I do twisting? So now we're going to start to see some instructions in which can lead you to the place of non-duality in twisting. And the first point you're going to be exploring twisting. So this is an introduction. Twisting can have like just a maybe like a 3 full workshops on in twisting. But just to get the feeling, I'm going to open up my arms. And now I feel that I feel no misalignment in my shoulders. So if you see here, my shoulders are aligned. One is not disaligned with the other. Both are aligned. So now can I keep that same alignment as I'm making a rotation along the spine? The moment I start to feel difference, let's say I'm trying to go and I'm starting to feeling a little bit that this shoulder here is coming a little bit more to the front. I have to consciously observe and to what extent in the uh, position of the twist, which is going to invite the misalignment, like superimposition of one part to the other, can I keep it the same? To what extent in the inbuilt dualities that's going to show up in the twist, how can I start to align my shoulders so that there is no sense of this different than that? And that's how I go. I don't have to go all the way. If I'm going, for instance, in Parivitra Trikonasana, I see sometimes, many times, students want to go all the way, and they're completely misalignment. And there is one thing that happens if you start to misalign all the way back, for instance. Let's see one disadvantage and one mistake. That your shoulder blades starts to compress your spine. Your spine should be free. The flow of nadis in the spine should be completely free because that's the channel of the Kundalini. So you see, like, also the energetic importance of it. So as we're making a twist, whatever, if I'm here, if I'm having a bend forward, if I'm making a symmetrical position of my hips, if I'm sitting down, whatever it is, I'm not creating difference in the alignment of my shoulders, and I'm keeping this freedom state of my spine like free, not like condensed, not like superimposed. So that was for one of the alignments for twist. Another important point in twist is that, of course, like, it's not that we want, as I was saying, okay, I just go here and I start to feel the dualities and I align and adjust and I stay here. No, of course we want to be able to have the full range of my twisting, but not compromising the quality of my twisting, in which it's leading us what we said about merging, about the state in which body feeling gets dissolved, about the state of Sthiram Sukham. So now, as we're making the twisting, if my spine starts to bend, so let's say I'm here, and somehow because I have imbalances, those things happen, I start to make a bending. To that point, you're going to see, even if you know anatomy, you can see that the spine, the facet's not going to be able to rotate freely. Then what we see sometimes, people making like this and pressing one part of the body over the other. This is totally wrong. If you see the anatomy of your spine, you should never force your spine. You should always create a space in which twisting can happen as a freedom state, not as an action reaction. So as we are making, to what extent we can observe consciously that the equal distribution of my feet are the same. So I'm not creating a leaning, I'm not creating a bending, because those things, most of the time, unless you're really observing how to balance, but let's say In 99.9% of the cases, you have some variation in the feet. So if you can observe the feet and starting to make a twist in which there is no variation in my left and my right, and I'm consciously observing the position of my spine that is in the center, in reference to leaning and in reference to bending. So that will also make the possibility to making like a more range in a twist. If you have a more range in a twist, as we're dissolving those dualities, what happens is you're solving the holdings, you're solving the imbalancings, you're solving any kind of tensions. So yeah, so this was for the second alignment and twist. And the final alignment we're going to see in this introduction for twisting is about to what extent can I create a certain quality of lightness. Because let's say, for instance, I'm here, like, and I'm making a forward fold to make a Parivitra Trikonasana. If my body starts to feel the effect of gravity, that's enter more in the balancing concept that we can see in other videos, but I would like just to give you this introduction. So in here, and if I'm making a twist, it's very important that to get the full benefits of twists, that there is the possibility of the energy arisal of the Kundalini, which happens as a natural process when we're starting to move towards evolution. What it means towards evolution? From ego, which is a particularity, a certain identity, certain attachment to form and shapes, towards formless and shapeless. So to what extent in that flow can happen in a twist, it means that there is less condensation, because if I'm starting to get condensed by gravity, I'm going to be stuck in the borders of the heaviness of my body. So as I'm making a twist, I'm making a forward fold, for instance, and to what extent can I distribute my weight so that as much as in a scale, if I'm here, I know that if I just let loose my upper body, it will create heaviness in my front knee. It will create heaviness, this leg becomes passive. So I'm conscious observing as I'm making a scale. In a scale, if I have 50 grams, the balancing becomes 0. So to what extent can I keep lightness? And I keep that lightness as I'm making now the distribution of the weight and alignment of my shoulders and equal weight in both feet. And I'm observing. And I'm not trying to go as much as I can, misaligning, and then bending, and then leaning. I'm just going to that possibility to explore the Stiram Sukham. Establishing. And in that, you see by your own thing, spine starts getting more free. Energy starts to flow more easily. That's going to also facilitate all other postures, because what you're creating as a freedom state of your spine is going to be reflecting in your side bending, in your back bending, in your forward fold, in strengthening building postures, which create more heaviness. It will expand towards the whole thing. So those are some introduction of twists. So that's a little bit for today, and I hope you enjoy it, and I see you in the next videos. Namaste.